All right. Well, welcome. We are using black straps today, but for the hips. For the hips. And welcome. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me today, and we will officially get started. Our Thursday class. We always try to do a little extra strength building today. Before that begins, we've arrived physically. I invite you to close your eyes. That soft gaze downward. We begin to slow things down. Deepening inhale and extending exhales out just a little bit longer. Maybe beginning to draw our attention to the breath. Allowing to flow in and out with its natural rhythm. Just taking notice of how this feels. We sit a little taller, relax the shoulders back and down. How are the thoughts? How is the mind this morning? Anything's been weighing on us, dealing with us. These stresses in our life sometimes get overwhelming, but has it ever helped the outcome of a situation? Next couple inhales, biggest yet, filling belly, ribs, and chest. And slowly releasing out the nose. And again, big, deep three-part breath, filling the whole torso. Maybe taking in that one more extra sip of air. And then slowly releasing. Returning to the natural rhythm of your breath. Beginning to remember what this feels like. How deep, how slow, how steady are those inhales? How long can we extend those exhales out for? Can we attempt to keep this breath throughout the practice? Allow it to be our guide to let us know when we're maybe trying a little too hard, or when we've gotten out of that 60 to 70% effort zone. And on your next inhale, inhaling both arms up overhead. Exhaling hands to heart center. And again, inhaling both arms up overhead. Exhaling, hands to heart center. And one last time, big, slow inhale, arms up overhead, this time pausing. And then we're gonna exhale into that slight back bend, just squeezing the shoulder blades together, raising the gaze slightly. Arms about shoulder width apart, fingers stretching up to the ceiling. And then on an inhale, we're returning to that tall neutral spine. Exhaling, hands coming down to the heart center. And then we're making our way to standing and choosing our props for today. Maybe chair, all four legs on the mat with the seat facing us. Maybe blocks at the top of the mat. We're beginning to find that mountain pose. Bringing the feet about hip distance apart and spreading the toes wide, rooting down through the mat. We still have the opportunity to have the eyes closed or that soft gaze. We check on that slight bend in the knees, keeping the quads active, pelvis slightly tucked in, spine as tall, chin is parallel. We relax the shoulders back and down. And like strong, rooted, grounded mountains. Becoming that immovable object. And one more big breath in here. And out. And then next inhale, we're inhaling both arms up overhead. And then as we exhale, hinging at the hips, coming down forward fold. Inhaling up to half, lift flat back. Exhale, fold, and just hanging out here. And the first forward fold, giving some time under tension on the low back. And then while we're here, taking any intuitive movements that might feel good. Waking up different parts of the body. Maybe weight in the heels, weight in the toes. Maybe we grab opposite elbows, sway back and forth. Maybe we bring our attention to our shoulders. And we just let them go completely. And we just let the head hang, release the neck muscles. We notice ourselves holding any tension in this forward fold. Just let it go. See if you can sink a little deeper. And that tension is ours to hold. It's ours to release. And on your next inhale, we're slowly uncurling, just ragdolling up. One vertebra at a time, rising back up to that mountain pose. And when we arrive, exhaling, shoulders back and down. Arms out by the side, taking another big breath in here. And out. And next inhale, inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhaling, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhaling, half lift, flat back, placing our hands on the blocks or the chair. Pedaling out the feet, and we're gonna continue warming up the spine, finding our twist here, rooting down through the left hand. On an inhale, right arm rises, gaze can follow. And then exhale, we're slowly lowering. Just one breath, one movement, inhaling, left arm up. Gaze can follow. Add that neck stretch, slowly releasing on that exhale. One more time each side. Inhale, right arm rises. Gaze can follow. This time we're holding. Taking that breath out. Another big breath in, reaching that right arm just a little higher. And then as we exhale, slowly lower with control. Placing that right hand, inhale, left arm up. Sinking in on that exhale. Another big breath in. Raise it up just a little higher. And then as we exhale, slowly lowering left hand down. Another breath in this half lift. And then exhale, release, forward fold, let it go. Where the fingers started out on this fold, hopefully we're getting a little lower. Creating that space. Finding those intuitive movements that might feel good for us today. And then on your next inhale, we begin slowly uncurling, ragdolling up again. We make our way back to that mountain pose, relaxing shoulders back and down. And then when we arrive, another big breath in and out. And next inhale, inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhaling, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, placing our hands, left foot steps back, followed by the right, pressing hips up and back. Finding that downward dog, another big breath in. And then as we exhale, pressing away through the palms, letting those heels sink down. And then we're here stretching it out. Maybe we're pedaling out the feet. Bending one knee, dropping opposite heel a little closer to the mat, saying good morning to the hamstrings. Maybe we're pressing away through the palms, dipping the head down. Hips raising up towards the ceiling, creating that nice long line, tailbone to heels, tailbone to fingertips. And then on your next inhale, we're gazing at the hands, soft bend the knees and slowly walking feet up to meet the hands. And exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Next inhale, reverse swan dive, arms going out and up, slowly rising, maybe finding that slight back bend at the top. And then exhaling, hands to heart center. Another breath in. And return to mountain. Pedaling the feet out from here. Next inhale, inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, place hands, right foot steps back, followed by the left. Pressing hips up and back, downward dog. Inhaling here, right leg rises. As we exhale, knee to nose, stepping it through. If we're using that chair, we're going to angle that foot out. And then beginning to check. Now, we haven't really warmed up the hips too much, but finding that edge with that left foot. Do we have any room to walk that back? And then on our next inhale, we're dipping into that right knee and we're finding that cow stretch with the torso. As we exhale, tucking chin to chest, rounding the spine, straighten that right leg, maybe toes lift. And then playing into this motion. Finding that cat-cow with the torso. Maybe sinking into the hips, maybe finding that hamstring stretch on those exhales. And if one of these feels good, pausing. Hold it for a breath or two. If you like the slow, steady movement, continue with that. About 10 more seconds. One more round here. Evening out both sides, finishing on that exhale. And then as we inhale, we're lowering that right foot back down to the mat. And then as we exhale, right foot steps back to meet the left, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Next inhale, floating out to plank. Pausing right here, shoulders above the wrist, and we're pressing away through the palms. Shoulder blades are pulling apart. Core is engaged, nice long line, heels to the crown of the head, and then on your next exhale, we slowly lower. Elbows brushing the rib cage, inhaling into that back bend, straightening the arms, dropping the hips, and then exhale, hips up and back. Downward dog. Another big breath in and out. Inhaling, left leg raises. Exhale, knee to nose, stepping it through, angling that foot out if we're on the chair. And keep the feet on train tracks with the blocks. And then on our inhale, dipping into that left knee. Maybe finding that cow stretch with the torso as we exhale, tucking chin to chest, rounding the spine, straightening that left leg. And again, just playing into this motion. Maybe connecting your breath with your movement, maybe finding a stretch and holding it. Perfectly normal. Feel something different, left side, right side, especially hips. Well, we try to give even time to both sides. They may be asking for different things, and that is okay to give it to them. Taking one more round here, one more inhale, dip, and then one more exhale, pressing away, holding here on your last exhale, tucking chin to chest, rounding the spine. And on an inhale, we're bending into that left knee. And then as we exhale, left foot steps back to meet the right, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Next inhale, floating out to plank. Exhale, slowly lower elbows, brushing the rib cage, inhaling into that back bend, maybe upward dog. And then as we exhale, hips up and back. Downward dog. Another breath in and out. And next inhale, soft bend the knees, gazing at the hands, slowly walking feet up to meet the hands. And exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. And next inhale, reverse swan dive, arms going out and up, maybe finding that slight back bend at the top. And exhaling, hands to heart center. And next inhale, arms up overhead. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, placing hands, left foot steps back, followed by the right, pressing hips up and back. In that downward dog, a big breath in. And out. Next inhale, right leg rises. Exhaling, knee to nose, stepping it through, keeping that right in the middle of the hands, and we're floating the hands, engaging the core, and then we're rising on an inhale. Sinking in as we exhale. Another breath in, lengthening, finding that strength all the way through the fingertips, pinky finger spinning in. One more breath in here. And out. And then on the inhale, we're straightening that front leg and we're pivoting both feet to face the mirrors. Arms come out to a T. And then from here, we're bringing heels in, toes out. Arms up overhead on an inhale as we exhale. Squat and goal pose. Inhale, rising. Exhale, squat and squeeze shoulder blades together. Inhale, rising. Exhale, squat and squeeze. Inhale, rising. Exhale, squat and squeeze. And this time we're holding. Pressing those knees away. Finding that inner thigh stretch, and then maybe playing into raising the heel on one foot. Switching to the other side, firing up those calves a little. Let's go left side, right side. Press into the toes, raise the heel up. Evening out both sides, relaxing the heels down, maybe sinking in a little lower. And then just for fun, both heels raised. Little balance challenge, lock the gaze. And then exhale, heels sinking down. Inhale, arms up overhead, straightening the legs. And then exhale, forward fold. Coming right down the middle. We can just hang here. You can find a little cross stretch. We want to bring opposite hand towards the opposite ankle. Give them a little tug. Find a little side back muscles there to stretch. Well, nothing is required. Time under tension. And your next inhale with the soft bend in the knees, we're slowly uncurling. Rising back up to that tall neutral spine, arms out to a T. Taking another breath in here. And out. And next inhale, we're pivoting both feet. We're dropping that left arm down. Return into that high lunge. Holding right here. Beautiful, beautiful. One more breath in and out. And next inhale, we're straightening that left leg and pivoting both toes to face the mirror again. Arms up overhead, heels in, toes out. This time as we exhale, we're bending into the knees and we're scooping. And then inhale, rising up, straightening the legs, both arms up overhead. Exhale, bend into the knees and scoop the arms down. Inhale, rising. One more time. Exhale, scoop. Inhale, rising. Exhale, arms out to a T. And this time, we're going to heel toe our feet in a little bit. And now we're going to pivot both feet to face the front of the room. There we go. This front, there we go. And now, bringing both hands up overhead into that high lunge. Exhale, slowly lower with control. And when our hands arrive, right foot steps back to meet the left, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, a big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Next inhale, left leg rises. Exhaling, knee to nose, stepping it through, floating our hands, and then rising on that inhale. Sinking in as we exhale. Another breath in, lengthening, reaching, stretching them up, and then as we exhale, finding that five-pointed star, other side, straightening the left leg, arms out to a T. Now we have both our toes pointed to the bars. We're gonna lower our hands down by our side. Heels in, toes out here. And then as we exhale, we're slowly lowering into a half lift. Maybe grabbing a block. If there's a block within reach. Now, heels in, toes out here. And now we can keep our hands on this block. We're gonna bend into one knee, straighten the opposite leg, kind of just like that warm-up stretch we were doing. And here we're just playing into this motion. Now we can keep our hands on the block. We can walk our hands back and forth. We can bring hands to heart center and add a little bit more strengthening to this. You can sink low and hold this stretch on the left or right side. Just taking some time to make this your own. Eventually evening out both sides. All meeting in the middle. And on an exhale, releasing into that forward fold. One more breath in here. And out. And next inhale, we're slowly uncurling. Rising back up to that tall, extended spine, and we're gonna pivot. Which foot is that? Pivot left foot forward. Bring the arms out to a T. And we're gazing over that left middle finger. And then from here on an exhale, we're bending into that left knee, dropping that right arm down, pivoting right foot. Beautiful transition back in that high lunge. Another breath in here. And then as we exhale, slowly lowering. Frame in the front foot. When our hands arrive, left foot steps back to meet the right, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, a big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Option to flow. Next inhale, floating out to plank. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, down dog. Another breath in and out. Next inhale, gazing at the hands, soft bend the knees. We're slowly walking feet up to meet the hands. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Next inhale, reverse swan dive, arms going out and up. Maybe find that slight back bend at the top. And exhaling, hands to heart center. One breath in. And return to mountain. Wonderful, wonderful. Next up, we're using blocks. We're gonna bring those to their highest setting at the top of the mat. And find that mountain pose again. Settling into the breath. Find that natural rhythm. Staying with your breath. Your next inhale, inhaling both arms up overhead. Exhaling, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, placing hands, right foot steps back, followed by the left, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Next inhale, right leg rising. Exhale, knee to nose, stepping it through. We're floating the fingers and rising on an inhale. Sinking in as we exhale. Another breath in, lengthen. Find that strength all the way through the pinky fingers. And then as we exhale, we're dipping in and pressing back up. I don't know, Ron, how you know what we're doing. That's fantastic. It's like multiple times this week. One more time, dipping in and rising back up. And then sinking in on that exhale. And blocks are at the highest setting. We're going to find that half moon here. We're taking one more breath in, maybe find that slight back bend. And then as we exhale, slowly lowering with control. In our hands, find the props. We lean over that right foot, extend the left leg up, foot is flexed. And then from here, this is kind of a warrior three. And we're going to open up half moon. Just stacking that left hip on top of the right. Toes point towards the mirror. Maybe that left arm raises up. Beautiful, beautiful. If you feel any inclination to angle that right foot in, please do so. And then we're going to find those curtsy lunges on our exhale, bending into the right knee. Left foot taps down. Inhale, half moon. Exhale, curtsy lunge. Tap that left foot down. Inhale, half moon. Exhale, curtsy lunge. Inhale, half moon, hold it here. One more breath in and out. Another inhale here. And then as we exhale, bending into that right knee and attempting to slowly lower that left leg back down into that high lunge, dropping the left arm down. And then raising both arms up all the way to that slight back bend. And then exhale, slowly lower with control. When our hands arrive, right foot steps back to meet the left, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, big breath in. And release, let it go. Another inhale here. As we exhale, press away, dip the head down, inhale, left leg rises. Exhale, knee to nose. Stepping it through. Floating the hands, engaging the core, rising on an inhale. Sinking in as we exhale. Another breath in, lengthening, reaching, extending the arms up. And then as we exhale, we're dipping down into that knee. And then rising back up, 2 or 3 more. Exhale, dip down. Inhale, rising up. One more time. Exhale, dip down. Inhale, rising. And then we're just settling in. Another breath in, lengthening. And then as we exhale, slowly lower with control, hinging over that left leg, right leg rises. Foot is flexed. Coming right through this warrior three into that half moon, stacking right hip on top of left, turning our torso towards the bars. Foot is flexed, toes pointed to the right. Maybe right hand finds the hip. Maybe it extends up towards 12 o'clock. And then here we're gonna find those three curtsy lunges. On exhale, bend into the left knee, tap the right toes down. Inhale, half moon. Exhale, curtsy lunge. Inhale, half moon. Exhale, curtsy lunge. Inhale, half moon, and holding here. Wonderful, loving the focus, loving the concentration. One more breath in. And then as we exhale, attempting to slowly return to that high lunge, bending into the left knee, dropping that right foot down. And then raising both arms all the way to that slight back bend. Find that high crescent lunge. Exhale, slowly lower with control. Hands arrive, left foot steps back to meet the right, pressing hips up and back, big breath in. Exhale, let it go, press away, sink the heels down, option to flow. Next inhale, floating out to plank. Exhale, slowly lower, elbows brushing the rib cage, inhaling into that upward dog. And exhale, hips up and back. Downward dog, another breath in and out. Next inhale, gazing at the hands, soft bend the knees, slowly walking feet up. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Next inhale, reverse swan dive, arms going out and up. Maybe find that slight back bend at the top. And exhale, hands to heart center. One breath in. And return to mountain. Widening our base. Bringing heels in, toes out. We're going to lower down squat. Inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, bending into the knees, sinking the hips. And where do we want to play today? Do we want to pulse up and down? Work that range of motion in the knees. Maybe sink the hips down. Maybe wiggle side to side. Another breath or two here for intuitive movements, and eventually placing our hands and coming down onto our bums. Standing legs out long. With the blocks right on the outside of our ankles. And then continue with a little bit extra hip flexions. We're going to do those heel taps one at a time. Tap in the heel on a block, tap outside, tap the block and tap in, and then switching sides. One more each side. All right, and then pedaling it out, bending our knees. And then I'd like to come down onto my elbows here. Get the lumbar nice and wiggled out, nice and flat on the mat. Palms are facing down. And then here we're gonna start on that right foot, extend that leg out, angle those toes out to the side, and then we're just pressing up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And slowly lower, switching sides. Left leg rises, feet turn to the side. 12 little pulses up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And slowly lower. From here, begin to make our way all the way down onto our backs, arms out to a T. And a little bit of mixing in of the core here. We're going to extend both the legs up without the block. That adds a little bit of core. We're in legs up the wall, not supported legs up the wall. And then here we're just going to open and close, open and close. 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Keep the heels together, legs still extended up. Heels are touching, and we're going to bring both heels towards the bum and then press them back up for 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 5. Knees may be coming apart on this. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Slowly lower both legs down, slowly with control. And take a little breather. Full body stretch, double knee hug. Maybe windshield wipers, what would feel good here? Eventually, return in soles of the feet to the mat, scooting our bums towards the right side of the mat and rolling onto our left side. Elbow under shoulder, stacking knees, stacking hips, right hand on the hip. We're going to extend that right leg out. And then 12 little raises here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Resting that down, stacking knees, stacking ankles, stacking hips. From here, we have pulling the knees apart, but keeping the ankles together. We have ankles tapped together. Now we're going to tap knees, raise the ankles, and then tap ankles, raise the knee. For 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Rested down, switching sides, rolling onto the right side. Elbow under shoulder. Hips, knees, ankles stacked. And we're going to start by extending that left leg out. And then 12 little leg raises. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Rested down. stacking knees, hips, and ankles, and then raising that left knee up. Ankles are still touched. Now we're tapping knees, raising ankle, and then switching sides. Tap the ankle, raise the knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Rest it down. Find our black straps, and then we're making our way onto our backs. Bringing those straps with us. Extending both legs long as we unroll the straps, just resting those on the torso. And then here we're gonna start out pulling just the right knee in, interlacing fingers just below it, giving that a nice tight squeeze, maybe rolling it out a little. And one more nice tight squeeze here while we bend the left knee, bringing the sole of that foot to the mat, extending the right leg tall, and then slowly lowering right ankle just above the left knee. We find our reclined pigeon. We start to warm up the hips. We can stay right here. We can apply gentle pressure, pressing that right palm into the knee crease. We can curl that left knee in, interlacing fingers just below it, pulling the knee into the chest, using the right elbow to create that hip stretch. If we do have that knee pulled in on our next exhale, we're slowly lowering. Pulling that right knee into the chest one more time as we extend the left leg long, getting the strap along the sole of the right foot and extending that up. Moving that strap into the right hand, and then as we exhale, that leg is just falling out to the left, to the right. Gravity is doing the work here. Maybe we're adjusting the tension on the strap, curling that wrist in. Pulling that heel a little closer to the waistline. Next inhale, we begin extending that right leg back up towards 12 o'clock, moving the straps in the left hand as we exhale. Twisting left, gazing right, adjusting that tension on the strap, maybe adjusting that slight bend in the knee and hip position as well. Where is that right hip? Stacked on top of left, we're pressing it down to the mat. As long as we have both shoulders on the mat, you can just feel free to explore that right hip. Finding that perfect spot for you. It doesn't have to be super intense. Time under tension. Apply that stress to the tendons and ligaments. Cannot stretch those the same way as the muscles. And your next inhale, that right leg slowly begins to rise back up towards 12 o'clock. As we exhale, slowly lowering it down to meet the left. Stepping out of the strap, bringing that up to the torso, resting that across the chest, and then pulling that left knee in. Interlacing fingers just below that knee, giving that a nice tight squeeze. Exploring that range of motion, looking for tension. And we lean into the discomfort, pulling it into the middle, out to the side, maybe a little hip circle. And then from here, bending the right knee, bringing the sole of that foot to the mat, extending the left leg long, tall, and then left ankle crosses just above the right knee. In our reclined pigeon, we can stay right here. We're in the stretch. We can apply that gentle pressure. Pressing that left hand to the inside of that knee, that thigh, maybe pulling right knee in, and then using the left elbow, interlacing fingers behind the right thigh, and using left elbow to press away and create that stretch. And your next exhale, we're slowly lowering, finding our strap again. We pull that left knee into the chest and get the strap around the left foot, extending that right leg long. Strap comes into the left hand. And then as we exhale, just letting that leg fall out to the left, adjusting the tension on the strap. Very much choosing our intensity here. Our next inhale, that left leg begins to rise back up towards 12 o'clock, moving the strap into the right hand. And as we exhale, we're twisting right. Maybe gazing left, shoulders on the mat, playing into the tension on the strap, playing into bending and straightening the knee, playing into hip position. How does it feel with the left hip stacked on top of right? What if we press that left hip down to the mat? Are you noticing different sensations, different areas, getting that stretch? Where do you need to be? Listen to your body. And your next inhale, slowly raising that left leg back up towards 12 o'clock. As we exhale, slowly lowering left leg down to meet the right, stepping out of the strap, bending the knees, soles of the feet on the mat, and maybe countering with some windshield wipers, letting the knees fall right and left. Be gazing over opposite shoulder as we do. Eventually evening out both sides, bringing the feet back to hip distance apart, arms out by the side, couple rounds of bridge pose, scooting shoulder blades together, making some room to tuck chin to the chest, and then on an inhale, we're pressing the hips up, walking shoulder blades together a little bit more, making room to tuck that chin to the chest, pressing them up a little bit higher. And then on your next exhale, slowly lower with control, one vertebra at a time, reconnecting with the mat. And then bridge pose, round two. Inhale, press the hips up. You walk the shoulder blades together a little more, press them up a little higher. This time, maybe even pressing into the toes, raising the heels up. And then on your next exhale, slowly lower. One vertebra at a time, reconnecting with the mat. And from here, we're pulling the right leg into the chest, grabbing just behind the knee, but not bending the knee. Maybe walking the hand up towards the ankle or foot. Pull that knee into the nose just a little bit more. And then on an exhale, slowly lower. Shoulders returning to the mat, right leg lowering down, switching sides. Raising that left leg up. Hands come behind the knee and beginning to raise those hands, walking them up the leg. And next exhale, slowly lower. Arms out to a T. And here we're floating the feet. Knees at about a 90-degree bend. Maybe having a blanket or a prop by our side. We're going to twist. And on an exhale, we're twisting right. Gazing left, letting those knees fall to the side. And we want those resting comfortably. Nothing floating this time. Next, inhale, using the core, slowly bringing the knees back up over the hips. Wiggling out that lumbar. If we found comfort with a prop, moving that to the left side. On an exhale, we're twisting left, gazing right. And now in this final cool down pose before Shavasana, beginning to check for tension. And to allow the face to relax, shoulders, the arms, the hands. Our next inhale, and slowly bring the knees back up over the hips. As we lower the soles of the feet down to the mat, feeling free to take any movements here. Windshield wiper, double knee hug, full body stretch. Get that last little bit of tension out. We did spend a lot of time on the hips today. Let them sink into the mat. Let the ankles fall out to the side. And one final opportunity to bring our attention back to the breath. Or any personal meditation practice we have at home. Beginning, deepen the breath. Maybe taking a deep 3-part breath here, filling belly, ribs, and chest. Sending that exhale out to the fingers and toes. Beginning to bring movement back to the body. As things start waking up, taking any additional movements. Finishing a little self-massage with a double knee hug or full body stretch. Releasing the hips one more time with some windshield wipers. What do you need? And eventually make your way back to a comfortable seated position. And closing with one final inhale, inhaling both arms up overhead, gather new energy for the day. Exhaling, hands to heart center, sealing that in, carrying that with us. And I thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to speak to me after class. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.